Okay, get your pencil and paper out. So here's a question that I was thinking about over the last week. When you set a goal and you don't achieve that goal, how do you feel about yourselves? You don't feel good. You feel horrible, right? Okay? You start to doubt yourself. You start to beat yourself up. You just don't feel really good about yourself. And when you see that someone has achieved more than you've achieved over that same period of time, how does that make you feel about yourself? Horrible again. Okay. So we're starting not to feel really good about ourselves. We achieve the goal, or we set a goal, we don't achieve it. Okay? And then other people around us are setting goals, yet they're achieving it. So you start to beat yourself up, you start to feel small, you feel lousy, you start to doubt everything that you're being taught. Start to doubt everything you're being taught. All that information. I wrote here, statistically speaking, goals are only met by 3% of the population. Statistically speaking, goals are only met by 3% of the population. And so if that's the case, think about this. Most people in America go around feeling pretty bad about themselves most of the time, don't they? It's pretty horrible. I mean, think about it. So what do? We set higher goals. Well, if I didn't do that, then what I'm going to do is work to do this, so it makes up for that. Now I have that plus that, and I'm going to work on achieving that. How does that work out for you generally? Doesn't work out really well. And then we fall short on those, and we start the process over again, and we start feeling bad about ourselves. So the thing that I was thinking about is, what do we do to fix all that? So I wrote this down, and I think you should too. Make tiny refinements daily. Make tiny refinements daily in the activities that you're working on. Begin to create small wins every single day. You want to feel good about yourselves? Let me reverse this. Let me ask you this question. If you write a list of activities that you want to accomplish today, go to the market, knock on 20 doors, talk to 12 people, pick up your cleaning, all the different things that we tend to put in that activity, and you accomplish that list, even if you didn't list or sell a house today, how do you feel about yourself? You feel darn good about yourself, right? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have that happening on a daily basis with those activities. I wrote down the level of success that one can expect in one's life is in direct proportion to constant and never-ending improvement. You feel good about yourself, and the better you feel about yourself, the more you're going to do today. The more you tend to do today, the better you're going to feel about yourself, the more you tend to do tomorrow. It's what happens is when we set these gigantic, lofty goals. I have this every year. Every year. It's January. Last year you didn't do exactly what you wanted to do. Maybe your goal was 30, 40 transactions and you only hit 12. So you're not feeling really good about yourself. Then you go to a goal-setting seminar, and you get all excited, and you listen to some tapes, and you know you need to make this money. So you come to me, and you're all pumped up, and you say, "That's it, Neil. I get it. I know exactly what I need to do. You've been lining it out for me for the past 4 or 5 years. I'm going to do it. This is going to be my year." By the way, that's January 2nd. Okay? I'm finally going to do it. I get this phone call a lot. That's it. I'm going to do 100 deals next year. Watch out. Here I come. And if I do 100 deals, I'm going to make $1 million, and wahoo! So if I start to have a conversation with you with words like, well, maybe we should start with 25 deals, or have you ever considered what it's going to take to do 100 deals, you think I'm being what? Negative. You get mad at me. You get mad at me. It took me years to figure out how to answer that question. Okay, you want to do 100 deals next year? Fantastic. Let's work on a plan. Let's put it together. And let's see what you do after the first 30 days. After the first 30 days, if you're on track, I'll support you. We'll figure out what you're going to do the next 30 or 40 days. Make sense? If not, we'll work on my numbers. And what generally happens? You generally work on my numbers. Unfortunately, sometimes it goes even below my numbers. So, constant and never every improvement. But it's not only in our business. It's in our personal relationships, in how we interact with people, how we treat other people. I wrote down, it's in the way we handle money. It's in the way we treat money. It's in the way we charge on our credit cards or don't charge on our credit cards. It's the way we plan for things. It's in our health. Are we taking care of ourselves or are we not? Are we working on the things that need to be taken care of? And it's in our education. Are we reading books on a regular basis? Are we listening to tapes and CDs on a regular basis? Are we going to training classes on a regular basis? So I wrote down here, to work on this, we need to set up a daily checklist and review it at the end of every day. A daily checklist of what you want to do on a daily basis, and then check it off. So the checklist could start with get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Could be spend an hour at the gym. Could be read some meditation, or read your goals, or listen to some Mike Ferry tapes, or listen to neilschwartz.net, whatever it is you want to do. Read the Bible, whatever you want to do. It's for you. It's your time. A particular amount of time set aside for you. A particular amount of time door knocking. A particular amount of time phone canvassing. A particular amount of time learning your scripts and dialogues. So you've got this checklist, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 items. And your goal is to work on checking that off every day. And maybe on the checklist, it's got constant and never-ending improvement. Meaning, maybe your goal is to prospect 3 hours a day, and right now you're doing a haphazard one. Why don't we work to do a consistent one daily for the next week or 2 or 3? And we'll build the muscle of the consistency. Am I making sense here? You know, just getting up. So maybe it's hard to get up and get to the gym. Look, a lot of you know that I've had some medical things going on over the last 5 or 6 weeks. So they stopped my exercise. And I have slept in a little bit later because if you're not getting up to go exercise, you know, so what are you going to do, right? So what do? I slept in an extra hour. That would have been my normal exercise time. So now they want me to start exercising. So I know that after the 29th, I can go back to starting to exercise on a regular basis. But I kind of got used to getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. That's kind of cool. I like that. All right? So now I'm back to getting up at 5:30 in the morning, but I'm not working out. I'm reading. I'm thinking. You know, I'm just enjoying myself so that I get into that routine. Then starting a week from today, I'll get back into doing some of the exercise. Am I making sense here? Constant and never-ending improvement. Now, I don't know what would happen next Monday if I would have been sleeping in till 6:30, and all of a sudden I now start to get up at 5:30, get my tennis shoes on, and walk into the gym. You get it? So, little improvements daily over time. I wrote down here, the feeling of completing tasks helps you to reach your goals. It's a feeling that will make you feel awesome. Results-oriented people are always measuring themselves against their goal they have set for themselves. They do not measure themselves against the people they want to beat. They measure themselves against themselves. And we have to work on that. Those of you that are doing your and keeping up with your numbers analyzer, you know what I'm talking about, because you're starting to see the numbers. We're already in our 15th or 16th week of the year, and that gives us enough data for us to kind of look at it, give you some ideas of what's going on, the number of contacts it's taking to get a listing appointment, the number of contacts it's taking to get a sale made. It's important. If you're not keeping that data, start today. Just keep the data. Just keep it. Keep as much as you can. If you can't keep it all, you can't figure it out how to keep it all, don't worry about it. Just keep some of it. Then at the end of the day, check off on your checklist what you accomplished, what you did. And I wrote down here, ask yourself 3 questions. What have I learned today? What have I learned today? What did I improve on today? And what did I enjoy doing, seeing, or having today? Because it's got to be fun. What did I learn today? What did I improve on today? And what did I enjoy? I wrote down here some characteristics of some of the top agents, and I wanted to review them. And I'd like, as we walk through these with you, write them down quickly. If you want, I'll email you the list at the end of the meeting today or this afternoon. But I want you to compare yourselves, like on a scale from 1 to 5. 5 meaning I do all of it, and I do it really well at a high level. And 1 is I don't do it at all, or I'm really pathetic at it. Okay? So, and then keep those numbers to yourself. Please. Yeah. The following characteristics of a successful person, of an always growing person. The successful characteristics of an always growing person. Usually a superstar. Usually a high achiever. Usually a high earner. I wrote down here, they are better trained. They are better trained. It is a characteristic. If you look around at anyone who is a superstar, whether they're in real estate, whether they're in the physicalities, whether they're in medicine, they are better trained than anyone else. I wrote down there, they focus on their goals. Their goals are important to them. It's important to make this much money. It's important to send my children to that school or be able to send them to that school. It's important to live in this neighborhood versus that neighborhood. They focus in on their goals. I wrote down here one of the other characteristics. The third one is they have a high desire to achieve. They're not okay with being average. They're not okay with being average. You want to really send me south? Say to me that my company, I mean this, you think this, that my company or you or me is no better than anyone else. It's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I get nuts. I am not an average person. I do not have, and I'm not with, average people. No way. No way. Would you like that? Is that okay with you? Do you want to be associated with or thought of as average? Oh my God. I'm not sure what's worse than that, but maybe we could brainstorm it, because it's bad. I wrote down here, they have the courage to do what they don't like to do. The characteristic of a high earner or a superstar is they have the courage to do what they don't like to do. And there's plenty of stuff we don't like to do. We like to get up in the morning, we don't like to exercise, we don't like to work on our scripts and dialogues, we don't want to do the follow-up calls. It's easier to do something else. But the superstars, and you look around, you'll identify them. They always do what they have to do, even if they don't like it. I wrote down here the next thought. They have strong commitments to learning how to handle objections. Strong commitment to learning how to handle objections. There are objections in all of that we do. There's always somebody saying that they can get it cheaper, that they have a friend in the business, that they happen to know of a better deal. There's always something going on out there. You know, is this really a good time to buy? Is this real? By the way, is this really a good time to buy?
Absolutely.
Why? Why is this such a great time to buy? Because the market is going up. Why else? Interest rates are low. Why else? That's it. We got two. The prices are definitely going up.
It's always a good time to buy, no matter what the rates are.
Generally, real estate is a good time to buy, and I certainly was buying when the market was down, and I bought when the market is up, because I'm the kind of guy that holds on to the property. Remember, I'm that guy that overpaid by $2,000 in Rowland Heights in 1977. I paid $79,000 for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, and I was laughed at by the agents in the office because I overpaid by $2,000. I should have paid like $76,500 tops. 77 would have been really stretching it, and I paid $79,000 for that house. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, Rowland Heights on Los Palacios. What'd you say it was worth the other day, Freddie? 400. I bought that house in 1978 or 9, right? Still have it. Still have it. Paid it off, getting the cash flow on it. You know, yeah, well, Neil, how come you didn't roll it into something else? How come you didn't flip it into something else? You do your thing, I'll do mine. I buy and hold. Okay, you can do what you want. All right? But I buy and I hold. And the houses and the properties pay off over time. Tenant paid it off. I didn't. The tenants paid it off over the last however many years. That's what we need to do. I overpaid $2,000 for that property. So you gotta learn to handle the objections. I wrote down here, they have the willingness to get out of their comfort zones. They have the willingness to get out of their comfort zones. We are way too comfortable. You are where you are, right? You just write this down and circle it. You are where you are because it is okay with you. You are where you are because it's okay with you. Because if you weren't, you'd change. How many times have you run into a situation in your life where you say, that is not acceptable anymore? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's money, whatever it is, car you're driving, you know, mine was, I'm sure I shared this before, but probably 25 or so years ago. It's right down the street here. It was in this building, so it had to be in the last 25 years. My credit cards were maxed out. My tires were worn out on my car. I needed new tires. I mean, for safety reasons, they were starting to show threads. It was an issue. Couldn't go any further. My credit cards were maxed out. So the only way I could buy tires for the car, and the cash flow was horrible, and the business was down. It was one of the 4 recessions that I've experienced. Remember I told you last time that isn't going to happen to me again? Well, this situation came up, and the only way I could buy tires was to buy tires from a company who would extend me the credit to buy the tires. Or give you a credit card, you know, like Firestone or Goodyear credit card, something like that. So that's what I did. It didn't matter what they charged me for the tires. It didn't matter I was overpaying for the tires. None of that mattered. What mattered was that they would extend me credit so I could buy the tires. I did not have an option. Does this make sense? Anybody else can relate to that? Been there, done that, right? And I made a vow at that moment that would never happen to me again. No way. I would have options. I may choose to do that same thing, but I was going to have the option to do it. It was not going to be because I didn't have the money or another credit card or the other wherewithal to do that. That was never going to happen to me again. That's what I'm talking about right now. You are where you are because it's okay with you. It wasn't okay with me anymore at that moment in my life. Now, it didn't change overnight, but that's 25 years ago, and I still own that feeling. Interesting, huh? I own that feeling. I know what it is. And interestingly enough, when situations come up, when I talk to many people about different things, I always think back to, at least I have options. I still may make the choice, but I have the options. That's what you need. You need to have the options. And you get the options by doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, even if you don't want to do it. I wrote down here, characteristics of a successful person. They always maximize the use of their time. They focus on using their time correctly. When they are at work, they work. When they're at home, they're home. They focus on their family when they should be focusing on their families, and they're at work focusing on their work. Instead of the situations, and I did this too, earlier in my career, I would be at home thinking about the deal I should be making, and not with my family, mentally or physically sometimes. And then I would be at my business, doing whatever it was that I was supposed to be doing there, thinking I should be home taking care of my family and my kids and my wife. It's costly. You ever wonder where a lot of my real estate went? 2 divorces. Don't do that. Don't do that. I wrote down here, they control their emotions. They control their emotions. It's not what happens to you that's important, it's how you react to it. It's not what happens to you that's important. We all have stuff going on in our lives. We all have that phone call that just came in that you weren't expecting, and you got to shift. You got to do something different. We all do. But you have to work on how you react to those things. I wrote down here, today matters. So what activities will you do in the next 24 hours to build on those characteristics, to work on you as an individual, to work on your family, to work on your business, to work on the way you handle money? What are you going to do different? How are you going to spend the next 24 hours changing, making the small, constant, and never-ending improvements in the multiple areas of your life? What changes will you make? And I wrote down here, what actions will you take to move your life forward? Because right now, we're just finishing the 4th month. So you have 2 more time periods like we've just come through. Some of you have had a spectacular 4-month period, spectacular. Some of you, not so spectacular. Some of you have done the activities in the first 4 months that should make the next 4 months spectacular. What changes are you going to make? What activities are you going to make? What are you going to do different in the next 4 months that you haven't done in the last 4 months to get you to where you want to get to and reach the goals that you want to reach and have the things that you want to have? Because, ladies and gentlemen, next week is going to be May 1st, and Christmas is coming. Now let's go out and make this the best week you ever had. Thank you.